We are back, baby, talking some more MLB action. We got the NL Central on tap for you today. We did the NL East already, if you want to go check that out. But this is definitely a different division. Lots of things to talk about that we're going to work through. And we got Brad back as well. So I have noises in my ear. Hold on one second. I have no idea why. Okay. How we doing? Now we're here. Second live video. Hang with us. But anyways, yeah, we're excited to talk NL Central. As you can see, Brad is back. What's up, my man?
Good. Ready to talk this baseball. Wide open division. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yep, that's right. We're gonna break it all down and hopefully not to get too weird, but we're pretty jacked up for baseball, guys. We're ready to roll. NBA is kind of in the dog days right now. You might see me sweating out some NBA bets here why I'm live, but we'll talk through some baseball. So if you haven't already, hit that like button while you're watching this video. Would really appreciate it. But like we said, this division is wide open. It's not like the NL East. We got 5 teams, maybe not 5, but we got 4 with potentially a chance to win the division, maybe, depending on how you look at it. But in this video, we're going to break down every team. We're going to talk their off-season grades, kind of how they did, and additions, subtractions, things like that, players to watch for each team. And then we're going to break down the roster, give any futures predictions we have, and just kind of go from there. We want to hear from you guys also in the chat. So if you guys are there, leave some comments. Let me know if you got questions or just comments about who you think wins the division, things like that. But we're just here to talk some baseball. So that's what we got. Brad, you got anything else, or should we get into the baseball talk here?
Well, might as well get into it. Do some interesting stuff. Why not?
Yep, let's do it. We did our research. We're ready to roll here. So we got the NL Central, and we are going to pull up the odds right now on who is going to win this division. Here we go. That's right. Everybody is plus 700 or less. That's a lot different than the NL East when we had the Marlins at plus 5 million. So we got Cubs plus 125. Last year they were plus 180. Brewers plus 260. They were actually plus 700 last year. So they were the same odds as these Pirates right here, and they ended up winning the division. Just something to keep in mind as me and Brad were kind of trash talking on the Pirates. The Brewers were just along the odds last year, and they won it. Cardinals plus 600 this year. They were plus 180 last season. And then the Reds plus 650. They were plus 350 last year. Actually got a lot worse in odds-wise at least. I think that's more of how the other teams have done. But Pirates plus 700, bringing up the rear. They were plus 1,600 last season, so making improvements, right? But that's what we got for the odds to win the division. Last season standings, like I said, the Brewers, surprise of the MLB, honestly, 93-69. I did not see that coming. They won the division pretty easily. Cardinals, 83-79. Cubs, 83-79, tied with them. And then we had the Reds, 77-85, and the Pirates, 76-86. So that's what we had last year. But let's talk those division winners from last year first. The Milwaukee Brewers. The biggest loss of the season in the MLB was by the Brewers. They lost Bob Uecker. That's right. He was awesome. If you have not seen Bob Uecker videos, go back and check. He was literally one of the funniest guys ever. He's the reason for this channel name, too, obviously, as you can tell. But Major League, by the way, Major League, leave a comment. Is that one of the best baseball movies out there? Brad, what do you think?
Sure is. I put that up there with a couple others like For the Love of the Game and 8 Men Out.
For the Love of the Game is what you're putting up there?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty romantic-y.
If you're a Kevin Costner fan, which I am.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
That also, the better one obviously is Bull Durham. If it's Kevin Costner, that one's way better baseball movie.
Yeah, I'm a Sandlot guy. Underrated Little Big League. Just saying. I don't know about that. I guess I just like little kid baseball movies. I don't know. That's what it looks like.
Weird.
Let's talk Brewers. Over under win total 83.5. Again, they won 93 last year. And let's talk their offseason. There's nothing, really. I mean, and you're going to see that on a lot of these Central teams. Nestor Cortez. How about that, Brad? What an addition. Nasty Nestor is coming to Milwaukee. That's about it. Brad wanted to remind me before the video, Mark Canha also got added to this team. Not a big deal. Fifth string outfielder.
Yeah, he'll probably make the lineup, though.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy. But here's the deal.
He makes it.
Here's the deal with the Brewers. They lost Willie Adames, big loss there. And then they lost their stud, their closer, the main guy out of the bullpen, Devin Williams. So they're going to have, apparently this team has money issues. And coming from a Mariners fan, it frustrates me when I hear that because Mariners have money issues as well, apparently. But that's really all they did. So they lost their number one closer. They lost Willie Adames. I mean, they're counting on some young guys, but they brought in Nestor Cortez for some rotational depth. Nothing real huge, honestly. So, I mean, if you ask me, uh, I give it a big fat F. I mean, it was just, I don't know. What you got anything else to add on this one? They were hamstrung by money issues, obviously.
Yeah, it's just money issues. It's the same people. Yeah, no big signings. They just got Nestor Cortez, Marcana, Manuel Margot. There's another one, but he's on his way out the door. But other than that, it's just some young potential, but not much.
Yeah. And if you didn't know, by the way, this team won the division by more games than any other division winner last year. I don't know if that's something to say about Milwaukee or something to say about how bad the NL Central was last year. But either way, yeah, I think we both agree. I mean, they did nothing. They really didn't. They didn't improve their team after winning a division. So, and I believe they got swept in 3 games, right, in the first round to the Mets last year. So it didn't end well. That's for sure. And then let's move over to players to watch on the Brewers. So I think we both have the same guy. So I'll kick it to Brad on a player to watch on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Jackson Churio. Obviously, he was a top contender for Rookie of the Year last year. I mean, batting 275, 21 home runs, 79 ribbies with a 791 OPS is pretty impressive. And he's speeds, steals bags. He's going to be a force on that team. He's, in my opinion, going to be the future of that team. Yelich is on the way out, so why not?
Yep, no, I agree. And by the way, at Kool-Aid 12, appreciate you joining in, man. And he had a little Pirates comment. We will definitely talk about them. But Jackson Churio, just to kind of go deeper onto what Brad said, rookie last year, obviously, but he really struggled to start the season. It wasn't pretty. He hit 275 with 117 WRC plus, 100 is average. In the second half, he hit a lot better. Good WAR, elite defender, if you don't know, plus 12 runs saved. Story of two halves, though. First half, he hit 243 with only a 384 slugging and a 23% K rate. Second half, how about 310 with a huge 552 slugging and only an 18% K rate, and around 22% K rate is average. And by the way, he was 19 years old. He was freaking 19.
Yeah.
Literally, I don't even know what to say. He was 19-year-olds should not be hitting 310 with a 552 slugging at all. And he had a 150 WRC plus. He was one of the better players in the National League, to be honest with you, in the last half of last year. But like Brad said, he's the future. I mean, this guy is an absolute stud. He's one of the Jackson trio, right? Jackson. There's Jackson Holiday, Jackson Merrill, and Jackson Churio. Who do you like the best out of that 3?
Ooh. Just personal, I like Jackson Holiday the most, but I think who's obviously the better one out of all of them right now. I think Jackson Churio is, when it's all said and done, is going to be the better one.
Really? Merrill's pretty good too. But anyways, that's a player to watch. Another one just I want to mention is, and by the way, at Trevor 885, I think. That's actually his name, I think. I'm not saying that. Thanks for joining us, man. Glad you're here. But Joey Ortiz, if you don't know about him, excuse me, I'm trying to battle a sickness here. One sec. Okay, I'm back. Joey Ortiz came over in the Corbin Burns trade. He's probably going to be the replacement at shortstop. Played a solid third base from Milwaukee last year. Hit 239. Nothing huge, obviously, in 142 games. They're still expecting something from him, but 26 years old. Can he finally make that jump? I believe he was a top prospect at one point in his career, like a lot of people are, and then the MLB just humbles you. But the second half was a struggle. 211 with a 24% K rate. Hit well in the minors. It just is not translating to the show. I mean, which is the story of every single Mariner minor leaguer. I keep bringing up the Mariners because they're my team, and I hate them. But yeah, nothing big. But again, Jackson Churio's the guy. I'm really curious to see what this bullpen does, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But we'll break down the offense. Brad, let's start with the lineup. What do you think about this lineup? Because this is an interesting one.
Yeah, it definitely has potential. I mean, it's practically the same lineup as last year, besides adding, Joey Ortiz, and they got this new kid, Caleb Durbin, who's supposed to be going at third. But that's where I think Marcana will probably step in eventually, just because with veteran, leadership, will probably end up being at third at some point, or somewhere out in the field. He's not going to be in the back for long. They got my boy Eric Haas from Detroit as a backup catcher behind William. So
how exciting!
They definitely hit bombs. Yeah, they're definitely gonna hit a decent amount of bombs. Key guys like Yelich, Reese Hoskins, and William Contreras are gonna run that offense along with Churio. So if they can all get going, they could be a force. But Their bullpen for me is the problem.
Correct, which we will definitely get to that. And by the way, at Josh Mans, welcome. I missed your name earlier, but this offense, this is the crazy part about last year. They scored 777 runs last year. That was the most since 2009 for the Brewers. Third best run differential at plus 136. It wasn't a joke how they played. It wasn't lucky or anything. They played good baseball. They were just behind 2 World Series teams, by the way, in run differential. This is a team that was very patient. Second highest walk rate in the MLB, almost 10%. Now let's talk about their projected lineup, though. Bryce Terang is supposed to lead off, stole 50 bases, hit 250. He could make the jump. His numbers say he's pretty decent, but he brings a lot of speed when he gets on. And if he can get on, and then you got Jackson Chourio, and then the big deal is not only Chourio, can Christian Yelich come back? I mean, can he? What has he had? 14 back surgeries now, it feels like. But he's a stud. I mean, he can hit the ball, but I don't know if I trust him at this age and this point of his career. And then you got the first of the Contreras brothers in the NL Central, William Contreras, 283 with 23 bombs last year. Was a lot better in the first half and then kind of struggled in the second half, but he's one of the better hitters. I mean, he's one of the better hitting catchers, and then you got Garrett Mitchell, played well in the second half. He's got some good power. Rhys Hoskins, Brad was talking about him a little bit earlier before this video. Can he return, back to his glory a little bit? Second year removed from a major injury usually is when you start seeing it, but 26 bombs still last year. Power is still there. And then you got guys like Sal Frelick, Durbin, like he mentioned, Joey Ortiz, like we talked about earlier. Durbin, not Durbin, this team, not one player is projected to hit more than 25 bombs. If you go to projections, how much you believe in it, whatever. I don't know. I think it seems like a lot of small ball, a lot of running, a lot of getting on base, being patient, drawing walks, that kind of offense. Sometimes that can be good as long as you're not a big strikeout team, which they're not. So it's okay. It's nothing special to me. It wasn't exciting last year to me, and look what they did. But, losing Willy Adames doesn't help either. But, so we'll go to the rotation, though. This is what no one's really talking about, the return of Brandon Woodruff, honestly. We have, let's see, his last 3 seasons. How about 3.05, 2.56, and 3.05 ERA? He was absolutely dominant, but the injuries have just killed him. I'm trying to think, when was the last time he pitched? It was 2 seasons ago, I believe. Is that right?
His full season, he pitched a full season back in 2022. Was the last time he actually had like a actual season. He's been spotty here and there since then.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just hasn't been pretty. So, but obviously we forgot how dominant he really was. I mean, the 3 seasons prior, 475 Ks and 399 innings. This guy was dominant. Low ERA. He was tough to hit, but we don't know what we're going to get from him. So we're talking about a possible ace of your staff. That's kind of a wild card. And then the other ace, obviously, Freddie Peralta. He's going to be a guy who seems like the same, doesn't he? He strikes out a lot of guys, has an ERA around 4. I don't know why, but he reminds me of Pablo Lopez a lot in that regard where, he'll miss some bats, but he'll also give up some runs, every once in a while. So, but other than that, Nasty Nestor, we know all about him, a hot and cold pitcher. He'll give him some decent innings. Savali, Ashby, nothing special, back into the rotation. But another guy, just real quick to think about, is Tobias Myers. He had a solid rookie season last year, 3 ERA. He did have a 4.03 expected ERA, due for some, regression there. 3.91 xFIP, things like that. If Tobias Myers can continue to take that next step and Woodruff finds his form and Peralta is who he is, it's not a bad top of the rotation. I don't know. What are your thoughts kind of on this rotation as a whole?
I'd pretty much have the same thoughts. If he could pick it up, they're going to need that rotation because as we, dip into the bullpen, we'll figure out why they're going to need to go deep into the games. You're going to want these starters to go at least 5 to 6 just to limit that. But as a whole, like you said, Tobias Harris had the best starting ERA out of all the starting pitchers on the rotation at 3, which is, that's still kind of high, but it's not bad for a rookie, obviously, with the 1.17 whip. So they has potential. They could definitely help.
Yeah, no, I agree. We'll see. Nestor Cortez, he's gonna look like a stud, and then he's gonna get absolutely rocked. He's not gonna bring a lot. But to that bullpen that we've been talking about, the Brewers bullpen is always known as just being like a top 5 bullpen. It seems like every single season. And last year they had the second best bullpen ERA, 3.11. But they are now losing their closer, Devin Williams. They lost Josh Hader the year before that, and then Devin Williams stepped up. But they've proven they can develop good bullpen arms. Can you just trust the Brewers to just have another good bullpen and good arms? Is Trevor McGill going to be the new closer? I don't know what we're expecting there, but he was decent last year. 2.72 ERA, 50 Ks, 46.2 innings. What do you think about this bullpen overall? I guess, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. They might have to move Joel Piamps back to the starting rotation if Savali starts getting rocked.
He was good last year, by the way, Piamps.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I would put him back there. I mean, he could be the sixth starter. They just put it in the bullpen for now. But Trevor McGill's decent, like you said. He's not a premier closer, but hopefully the Brewers don't really need a closer. Hopefully this offense does what you said, giving me the 2015 Kansas City Royals vibes, where it's just not many bombs, just a lot of getting on base and stealing bases.
Yep. Yeah.
Playing that small ball. So if they stick to that, maybe they will have a chance.
A team that kind of doesn't beat themselves really. But
exactly.
Yeah. No, it's so overall. I don't have any futures bets for this Brewers team. I'm going to be honest. If you just look at all rosters and you look at the Brewers, to me they're boring. They're just flat out boring. But they find ways. Yeah, exactly. They're and I think that the over/under total is about right, just over 500. But if they have some other guys that can step up in the bullpen. And Woodruff can find his form again, things like that. Churio can continue to develop and all that. They just lack too much power offensively. But we'll see what happens. I didn't think they were going to be very good last year, and they won 1 million games. So, yeah, you got anything to add? I don't think they win the division this year. I don't think they compete for it. But
no, I see the same thing. I see them being probably finishing around the third spot in the division. So. Yeah, I see them third. They don't really have much, you said, much power, and the teams around them got a lot better. They were worse than them, and as we're going to talk later, a lot of the teams got a lot better. So it's going to be tough for them.
Brad's got this co-host thing down. He just served it on a platter. And speaking of that, the Chicago Cubbies are up next. That's right. And you can't, by the way, think of any other movie but one when you think of the Cubs, right? What do you got?
Rookie of the year?
There you go. Attaboy. Put him on the spot. Over under win total here, 85.5. 83 wins last year. This is a team that has a bunch of prospects that are close to being ready. Kevin Alcantara, Matt Shaw, Owen Casey, I think is his name, and there's a few other ones. So that's something to be excited about as a Chicago fan. Big offseason for the Cubbies. It wasn't not as big as I wanted, but we'll talk about it. So they added Kyle Tucker. Probably the biggest ad other than Soto in the offseason, I would say. Yeah.
No, I definitely compare him to Soto when you look at their stats.
Okay, that's a little much, but okay, sure.
In the first half of the season.
Yeah, okay. But Kyle Tucker got him in a trade, but here's the crazy part. They got Tucker in a trade, but they only have him for 1 season, and then he's a free agent. So they gave it, and obviously they think they're going to extend him, things like that. Will he extend? We don't know, because if not, then they just traded away guys just to get him for 1 year. They added relievers, Presley, Brazier. Presley's been a little hit and miss lately, but Poteet and Eli Morgan from the Cleveland Guardians. And then added Matthew Boyd to the rotation. A good piece there, I think, to help them out. And then lost Cody Bellinger. What's kind of your overall grade, or what do you think about this Cubs team, or offseason?
I think their offseason was great. I have it as in their division, they probably had the best. Like you said, they added Presley. They got Ryan Brazier from the Red Sox is another another bullpen arm. Matthew Boyd, as you said, former Tiger. Just have to throw that in there. Ryan Presley, if he comes back good, he'll be a premier closer. They got Carson Kelly, Justin Turner, and John Birdie's a sneaky good signing, so they're cheap. And Vidal Brujan is a guy I want to look out for too. They had a good offseason. Let's just say that. A lot of depth added.
I agree. You went deep there on some of those players, but yeah, no, I agree. They have some sneaky good ones. They're pretty much replacing Bellinger with Kyle Tucker. Upgrade, in my opinion. I mean,
yep.
I think that's kind of obvious, but Tucker is automatically their best player on this team. They did get much needed help, so I gave him about a B for this offseason. I think if you were going to go for it, Tucker's on his contract year. This division is there to be had. I was hoping for one more big splash from this Cubs team, or just something, another arm for the rotation, maybe something like that. But because they did lose Isaac Paredes, Wozniacki, and a top 100 prospect for maybe just 1 year of Kyle Tucker. So will it pay off if they win the division and make some noise? Maybe, then maybe it's worth it anyways. But I give him a B. What about you?
Yeah, that's what I put A minus in my opinion. I
Yeah.
like the sneaky signings. Like I went deep on, like I said, Birdie and Budal. Those are two speedsters that could really help him out when it gets late
Yeah.
in the season.
No, I agree. So players to watch. You got anybody here for the Cubbies?
Obviously, the player watch is going to be Kyle Tucker, in my opinion. I mean, it's a big signing. Like you said, they only got him for a year. What a year to have him because they're expected to win the division. So it's a good year to have him, not one of those poopier years. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, I'd like to see him hit a bomb down the right field line because it is deeper than it is in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's gonna have a problem with that. He's gonna hit like 30 bombs at least.
Well, he's going to have a problem with this staying healthy. I mean, that's the big deal.
Yeah.
Because he has had a hard time staying healthy. Player to watch for me, Matt Shaw, we talked about it. He's the Cubs' #1 prospect. He was the first-round pick in 2023. According to The Athletic, he has patience, power, and a good hit tool, and plenty of speed. If you guys saw him play for Team USA in the fall, how about hitting .412 with a couple bombs and a tournament-leading 14 RBIs, hoping to be the starting third baseman here. Career minor league stats, he's pretty much played an entire MLB season in at-bats in the minors, only 159 games, hit .303, .522 slugging, 29 bombs and 600 ABs, and also 46 stolen bases. Does that always lead to huge numbers in the majors? Absolutely not. But he's a very patient hitter, which you love to see in a young guy. He saw almost 4 pitches per plate appearance then. So, I mean, we've seen him play pretty well, especially at these advanced minors levels. He's 23 years old, still young, but he's not some 19-year-old Jackson Chury or anything. So I think he could step in and be a huge help for this Cubs team. And speaking of that, let's talk the lineup real quick. I'll let you break down the lineup a little bit before I get into it.
Yeah, no, they got a good catcher depth. They got like 4 catchers on the roster right now. They got Carson Kelly. I wish he stayed in Detroit. I liked him, but he left. But that's good. Then you got first base. You got Michael Busch, still a young star. If he stays healthy, he'll be a force. I always like Nico Horner. He's actually from out here in the Bay Area. He went to a school my friend went to. Justin Turner, I believe, is going to take third base, even though they don't project him to. I don't see why they wouldn't put him there. Dansby Swanson, of course, I think he's one of the best shortstops in the league right now. And his season was a little off last year, only batting .242, but he's probably going to have a bounce back, in my opinion. And Ian Happ, of course, what do you want to say about him? And then the young stud, Pete Armstrong. That kid's good. So
Crow Armstrong, okay?
Yeah,
Pete
Crow Armstrong. Pete Crow Armstrong. That kid's good and he's insanely fast. And then of course you got Kyle Tucker. And then some other guys like Seihei Suzuki. He's still good. He's still out there. So it's pretty good offense in my opinion.
You know when it's really good? When they're in Wrigley and the wind is blowing out, baby. And you bet these games, and you bet Cubs games, and you look at the total. Sometimes you'll see 6.5 or something, and you're like, why? There's only 6.5. These pitchers aren't even good. You're like, okay, the wind must be blowing in. It's one of the biggest wind-oriented parks in the MLB. Then you see the wind blowing out, and you'll see a total of 12. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But that was just a random thought. But like you mentioned, I mean, Seiya Suzuki hit .283 with 21 bombs in 132 games last year. So, I mean, he did strike out 160 times also, which isn't exactly ideal. But if he can still, continue to improve, he hasn't been in the majors very long, along with Michael Busch, who a lot of people are, saying some good things about. He had 21 bombs last year, struck out 162 times as well. So they got some guys in this lineup that have struck out quite a bit. 28.6% K rate, needs to improve that. That's all behind, we know what we're going to see from Ian Happ. But Dansby Swanson, like you mentioned, 31 years old. I don't know how much bouncing back he does. But hit .242, 16 bombs. Maybe he could be a 260, 20 guy. But good leader in the team, on the roster, and a good shortstop and things like that. And then Nico Horner can, be a pretty good contact hitter, I guess. But Crow Armstrong, I mean, if Crow Armstrong and Matt Shaw can really step up in this lineup as young hitters, and then you got Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, Michael Busch. I mean, you got a pretty decent lineup here. But they are counting on some young guys. I think is their starting catcher going to be Miguel Amaya? Then is that what we're rolling? Maybe Carson Kelly. I don't even know.
I think they're giving it to Carson Kelly right now, and then I think Amaya is second. So I mean, why not just they're both starters essentially. You have 2 catchers They're pretty
Yeah.
much starters. So it'll be those
Yeah.
two sharing it, I'm assuming.
Beautiful. What a combo. At Charles White, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me. He's here for the Red slander. Reds are up next. You don't know what I'm going to say about them. Anyways, let's start
Slanderous.
rotation on the Cubbies. Shota Imanaga, Justin Steele, Jameson Taeyong, Matthew Boyd, the ex-Bradley Detroit Tiger, and then Javier Assad, and ex-Mariner, actually. And Javier Assad maybe is the fifth spot. I'm not exactly sure, but just your overall thoughts on this rotation?
It's pretty decent. It's one of the better ones in the division, in my opinion. If they're all healthy and not doing their A
Yeah.
game. I watched Shota pitch yesterday and pitch a shutout through, I think it was 4 or 5 innings. I know it's spring training, but he looked really good.
Mhm.
So that helps. Matthew Boyd still, never know with Matthew Boyd. He's still really good, but he could have a bad year or a good year. It really depends. Jameson Taillon is still pretty good, in my opinion. The 3.27 ERA last season, was not the greatest, but
I think it was lucky.
But that's it's about average.
Yeah. No, I don't trust Tyon as far as I can throw him. I don't know why. Maybe I had some betting
Yeah.
problems with him. I don't know what it is.
I mean, he
just
was
don't
just terrible on the Yankees. He just got lit.
yeah, that too. But
Yeah.
what I want to talk about is the guy who I think could just be a stud, and it's Justin Steele. This guy's a gamer, man. This guy gets fired up. I love watching him pitch. I think he's a stud. Shota Imanaga was unreal last year. He was awesome. You know, he had a little spurt, I think, in the middle of the year where he really struggled. But he's not a guy who beats himself. An elite 4% walk rate last year is insane. So Shota Imanaga, Justin Steele, if Matthew Boyd can continue, I mean, he had that resurgence last year, 2.72 ERA in Cleveland, 46 Ks in just 39.2 innings. He is 34 years old, but if he can continue, you know, and I think they got another young guy coming up as well as a pitcher. But Imanaga, Steele, Boyd, you know, it's pretty good. This is why I said if they're going to go for it with Kyle Tucker, one more arm would have been really nice, don't you think? It like kind of just this, and even if it's a 3, 4, 5 guy, and maybe they just trust Tyon and Javier Assad and whoever else it could be here, but it's still, you know, solid bullpen to go with that lineup. But then our solid rotation. Then you look at the bullpen, 12th best ERA in the bullpen last year, 17th in xFIP. Added Presley, like we talked about, Brazier, Eli Morgan. Who will be the closer in this team? That's the question. I would assume it's going to be Nate Pearson. He could have a big year here. He's a guy who can get some swing and miss. But I think this is going to be a better bullpen for sure, which is going to help. But there's no dominant closer role yet. But you know, that's kind of where I'm at. What do you think about this bullpen? I definitely think I see some improvement. That's where I think one of the reasons why I have my first feature bet, which I'll announce here in just a little bit. But what do you think?
Yeah, no, same thought. Like no predominant closer in this. I think Ryan Presley will get it just because of experience over Nate Pearson, but it wouldn't be bad to even swap them here and there. One's the setup, one's the closer. I mean, 8-9, that's still gonna be really good. It'd be scary to face those two. Merriweather is usually solid. He's an average, you know, bullpen arm. Ryan Brazier, 50-50. You never know with him. He's had some really good years and some really bad years, but it's probably better. And I don't expect him to have to do much work with that hitting lineup. I expect the Cubs to be averaging like 6 runs a game. You know, something that kind of high. They're putting up 4 to 6.
I agree. I think they're going to be a good offense at home too. But I agree. And so that leads me to my first future bet on this team, or in this division. It's the Cubs to win the division, plus 125. Listen, I wish the odds were higher. I don't think there's extreme value. They were at plus 200, I think, at one point way back in the day. But they won 83 games last year. Like I said, they've added solid pieces. Their bullpen has improved. They added depth to their rotation with Matthew Boyd here, and I think Justin Steele and Shota are in for a big year. And then they have Kyle Tucker, obviously a humongous lefty bat here that they get to add in this lineup. And then I really like we talked about, Crow Armstrong, Matt Shaw. They got some real speed in this lineup as well. So it's a team that can beat you with some speed, also beat you with some power. Overall, in a division that's, you know, full of flawed teams, I think the Brewers take a step back, like we just talked about before the Cubs. So I like the Cubs to win the division at plus 125 as a future. And just talking to Brad, I think he's kind of on board with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the Cubs are gonna. I don't think it's gonna blow out in the division, but I think they're gonna win it.
Yeah,
It's gonna come down to a couple series at the end of the year, and I think the Cubs have the better depth to do it.
and listen, I don't think they're the number one team in the NL or anything, but I do think they are the best team in this division. That's for sure. So,
Yep.
As Charles White just said, they should win by default. Yes, they are a good team though. But yes, in a way. In a way, it does help with their division. So that's what we got for the Cubbies. Now let's move on to the third team. You're gonna have to wait longer, Charles, because we're going to the St. Louis Cardinals. Over under win total 77.5. They won 83 games last year. This is a rare struggling time for the Cardinals franchise, and I'm for it. I'm all for it. I saw them win enough, let's face it. But offseason, well, they tried to trade Nolan Arenado, couldn't get the job done. They added minor leaguers, right? Unless I'm missing someone, Brad. I don't think they added any real major league contracts. It was pathetic. They lost Paul Goldschmidt. Obviously, probably a future Hall of Famer, maybe, but that's another time. And so they got no better. This team to me feels like they're just stuck in the middle. I mean, they're either need to go for it or they need to, okay, it's time to rebuild, let these younger players play. Because keeping all these veterans, all that does is they're going to play now and block up spots for these young players to get experience and play and all that. So they just seem like they're stuck. And it was just a terrible offseason. It's just a big fat F- for me. They did absolutely nothing positively. This is a team that you got to watch out for in the middle of the year. This could be a big sell team here. Maybe trading guys like Sonny Gray, Ryan Helsley, as he had a career year with 49 saves last year. Like, what is a guy like Sonny Gray helping this team right now? Go get some young players. But I just think they got to pick a spot. If I was a Cardinals fan, I just wouldn't be very excited going into this year. But anyways, that's my rant. What do you think about the Cardinals?
You pretty much said it, but they remind me of they're like the Pittsburgh Steelers of baseball. They just don't do anything exciting. They just float right there, right at 500 mediocrity, and still have winning seasons essentially. Like you said, I have them winning about 83 games again. They didn't make any moves, but they still got good players on the offense. But they didn't make any moves, and they're still probably going to be in the middle of the pack again. Nothing really jumps out at you like, oh yay. That's just plain, and they're just going to be 500.
I agree. No pressure, but Charles White has to go back to work in 20 minutes, and he wants to hear about the Reds. At the half man, what's up, my man? Thanks for stopping in to leave a comment. Appreciate it, bud. But players to watch on the Cardinals. Listen, Jordan Walker. How many times have you heard the name Jordan Walker? The once top prospect has still not figured it out. He hit 306 in AA in 2022, then 257 in AAA. But he had a really good second half of 2023. It led to everyone loving him. 40 ribbies, 14 bombs, 277. And then he struggled again in April last year and then went back down to the minors and just has not figured it out. Supposedly, he changed his swing to be more of a line drive swing, not trying to hit home runs. Will that improve this year? I don't know. They absolutely need him to step up and be a star. But, you can mention whatever your player to watch is, or if you want to say something about Jordan Walker. But it just hasn't been. He was, I think, one of the top 5 prospects in baseball, something like that when he came in.
Yeah, he was it's the stud. Of course, he hasn't really developed it. He only played in 51 games last season. But yeah, he's not, unless he turns around, he's not going to be a big. They need more than him to contribute. Looking at this lineup, anyways. Yeah. Alec Burleson will be the guy I would look out for because he was probably sneakily their best hitter last year. Looking at his stats and everything, he 269, 21 bombs, 78 ribbies, and 735 OPS. He's probably going to be their player to watch and help try to carry that offense.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's going to be huge. He needs to take that next step, and I'm going to talk about him here in a second. But Charles White, thanks, man. Enjoy work, but appreciate you stepping on. We are planning on doing some more live videos during the year as well. That's why we're kind of starting to getting our feet wet here a little bit with some live videos before the season. So, but another guy I want to talk about real quick, top prospect Quinn Matthews for the Cardinals. Threw 156 pitches in a college game one time. I just want to point that out. It has nothing to do with anything. I just want to point it out. But he struck out the most hitters in the minors last year, 202 Ks and 143.1 innings. That's a lot. I'm just saying. He went quickly through 4 levels. He won pitching prospect of the year. That's kind of good. Can he make the rotation? Can he help this team? He's a stud. From everything you see, I've watched video of him. He looks really good, but we'll see if it translates. Usually pitchers, it's a little easier to translate, but that's someone also you want to look out for is Quinn Matthews, especially on the fantasy waiver wire. We'll see if he starts the year, maybe stash him away or something like that. But that's what I got for players to watch. But let's go over the roster now in the lineup. And I'll just start because, their number 2 hitter might be Alec Burleson. Like you said, He's a platoon player right now. Can he actually hit lefties? He has to be able to hit lefties. And maybe while Brad's talking, I'll pull it up, but it just was not pretty on him hitting lefties. So, he needs to be a full-time player. He needs to be able to hit both, but he hit righties really well, I'll tell you that. And then the other Contreras brother, only guy projected to hit more than 20 home runs in this lineup, which is pathetic. Mason Wynn, another young player to watch we have not mentioned. He's going to be the leadoff guy, brings speed. He has a cannon of an arm, by the way. And then Nolan Arenado, age might be catching up to him. He had his worst season of his career, projected for just 20 home runs with a 250 average. He's fallen down. So this lineup is, I don't know, a lot of question marks to me. Can they get it done? Lars Fig Newton, another young guy with talent, not a ton of power. Jordan Walker, we just talked about. Nolan Gorman, Herrera, Donovan. I don't know. Herrera's another young catcher who can swing a little bit, but what's your overall thoughts on this lineup?
It's just crazy to think that somebody batting 270 and only hitting 20 bombs is like falling off a cliff. But that's how you feel about Nolan Arenado. It's like anybody would kill for that season.
Yes, but it is definitely falling away from him, especially when you're expected to carry the lineup. You know what I mean? I know that's true though.
It's like God, he's only gonna hit 50. Jesus.
I know. Hey, they tried to trade him and nobody would take him.
Exactly. Well, he's gonna probably he probably wants to demand more money again too. That's probably why. But he is, as we just talked about, as you mentioned, he's an aging superstar.
Yes.
He doesn't have much really good depth left. He probably has maybe, in my opinion, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, still a good love and all that. And real quick, before you just say anything more about the lineup, just back to Alec Burleson. Alec Burleson versus righties last year. He's a lefty, by the way, if you don't know. Hit 292 versus lefties, 195. That's why he is a platoon player. It was absolutely horrendous. So we'll find out, but I just want to point that out.
Yeah, he's slotted to be the DH anyways, as of right now. He'll probably still, mix in DH and play the field as well. I'm assuming they're going to platoon him with a DH and a spot. But yeah, I mean, it's just blah average lineup. I mean, you got your typical aging superstar, a couple of young guys that'll try to revive it, and then a bunch of just average players.
Yes, I mean,
it's crazy that they're only projecting to hit as few bombs as they are, but I'm looking at their stats and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and Nolan Gorman's a guy who has some pop as well. So that's our lineup rotation. The ace is 35 years old. What else do I need to say? He's been good, obviously. He's been solid, but they found new life last season, or he did, with Mr. Eric Fetty. He came over from, Korea or something? I don't know. He went over, played a year out of the country, and then came back and was really good last year. Now he's going to be like their number 2, number 3 type starting pitcher for this team, along with Miles and Miles and Miles of Mikolas. That's right, 4.5 ERA. This guy, I don't even get. He can look really good and then look just absolutely horrendous. So he's a 4.5 ERA guy who, I don't know, nothing big. And then Andre Palante, Steven Matz, obviously no more Adam Wainwright in this rotation. This rotation sucks. I'm just gonna be honest. Your ace is a 35-year-old. Eric Fetty's had one good season in the majors. Can he continue it? I don't think he's gonna fall back again, but that was his career year last year. And then Mikolas, I just talked about. There's just Palante's not bad, I guess, but I'm not excited about it.
No, it doesn't wow you. Like you said, Miles Mikolas just gets rocked every time. His ERA last year was 5.35.
He's
Steven Matz is 2 of their pitchers are above 5, which is insane. And then you got in the 3s. So
yeah,
and that offense doesn't look like it's going to help them. So.
Exactly, and not just that, they don't have one starting pitcher. They only have one starting pitcher projected to have an ERA under 4, and they have a bunch of guys. These guys that we're talking about, Miles Mikolas, Eric Fetty, they do not strike out a lot of hitters either. This is one of the lowest strikeout rotations in the majors. Just something to think of. But I think we're on the same page with the rotation. It just flat out sucks. But bullpen, 7th best ERA last season, 10th best xFIP. Best part of the team last year was their bullpen. Like, guys, they're just not very good. They're not. Sorry, I don't mean to say that. They're not bad. I think they overachieved a little bit last year. But again, the bullpen isn't going to matter as much because I think their rotation's awful. I think their lineup is not very good. their bullpen will be the best part of their team, in my opinion, yet again. But I'm seeing it, I think they'll be in that 10th to 15th range, maybe, I guess. But I don't want to talk too much about this bullpen because I just think the team, if you can't tell, I think this team's not very good. That's just flat out.
Yep. Well, bullpen will help, but yeah, again, they did what Pittsburgh did, like you said. They overachieved last year with what they have. That's exactly what Pittsburgh does in football. They're just right there contending. It's because of the division. And this is the same thing. Division's wide open. But yeah, bullpen, nothing wows you, but it's probably going to be the best part of their team.
Overachieved to get 83 wins.
Exactly.
So overall, like we mentioned, I don't have any futures bets. I lean under on the team total. Roster's filled with a bunch of inconsistent starting pitchers who cannot miss bats. Lineup, a lot of question marks. Will Walker and Mason Wynn make the jump? Can Alec Burleson hit a lefty? Arenado's on the decline. Who fills in for Goldie? All these questions. I think if you're a Cardinals fan, you're listening, you probably agree with me. Maybe I'm a little too hard on them, but that's what we got for the Cardinals. So, any last words on the St. Louis Cardinals, or are we moving on?
Oh, they should finish around 500 and probably do Pittsburgh Steelers things and finish a little above.
Yes, that's right. He does think they are the Pittsburgh Steelers of the MLB. Next team. Charles White's not here anymore, but Cincinnati Reds, over-under win total, 78.5 wins, 77 wins last year. Let's talk about their offseason. They had a great addition, and it's not even a player. It's Mr. Terry Francona as the manager. He will be really good for this young team. And here's who else they had. Gavin Lux. He was a one-stop prospect who hasn't quite figured it out when he played for the Dodgers, but he's still going to be a really good piece for this team. Brady Singer, good for the rotation. But they added Taylor Rogers, a really, really nice piece there in the bullpen, as well as Austin Hayes, who, if you forget, he was just an all-star 2 years ago. So I think adding Singer will help. You don't have to see Nick Martinez as much in the rotation. And then Rogers gives them a third good lefty out of the pen with Sam Moll, Brent Suter. So, like I said, Lux could add some pieces. They did lose Jonathan India on this team. That's kind of their main loss. I'm going to just say it. They also added Matt McLean because he didn't play last year, obviously. So it's pretty much adding him. But what are your thoughts on this overall offseason for them?
Yeah, I think they had a good offseason. I think it was right behind the Cubs in this division in the offseason. Added some good pieces. As you brought up, Brady Singer was supposed to be a future star for the Royals. Didn't work out there, obviously. Then you got Rogers. They also added Scott Barlow, who's decent. He's a decent relief pitcher. Obviously, I loved Austin Hayes in Baltimore. That's also a good addition for the Reds. They also added catching depth along with Tyler Stevenson. They also got Jose Trevino. Not the best hitting catcher, but he's going to give you some, help. And they also got, Christian Encarnacion Strand. He's also a good piece as well, along with Gavin Lux. So they're pretty deep. I think they're going to be all right. They're going to be I think just behind the Cubs.
So here's what I feel about them. I wish they would have just done one more thing, like go get Anthony Santander. You know what I mean? Go get that big guy. Yeah,
I love that guy.
Tony Taters. If they would have done that, it would have just really capped off a pretty good offseason for me. I think they really needed a bat like that. But like he said, they got some depth. This is a team that's letting their young guys play and develop. And I think that's why we didn't see too much, into getting veterans and having guys step in front of young guys and all that. Like we said, we're going to talk about it again later, but Austin Hayes, guys, he had some injuries, and he even admitted the injuries just ruined his season. It's hard to get in a rhythm sometimes last year, but he was good 2 years ago. Gavin Lux is a guy who can play all over the field also. And then Rogers, just a stud guy for the bullpen. And this bullpen made some improvements, which we'll talk about. But players to watch, you got anybody for the Reds?
My player to watch is, obviously it's probably going to be like Ellie De La Cruz. But if you're talking about young, I would say watch Brady Singer, even though he's not that young anymore. It's a few years in, but I think he's going to have a pretty good pitching year. I think he's going to solidify himself as the number 2 pitcher, maybe even the number 1 on that roster before it's said and done.
I mean, he could be a huge help because he looked. Yeah. You're talking about Brady Singer. I feel like you said Freddie Singer. Did I say? I heard it wrong.
Brady Singer. Yeah, Freddie Singer's cool.
The Brady Bunch. Yeah, no, he did. He showed some flashes last year, and he could really help this rotation. Yeah, I don't. That's gonna be an interesting one. But mine is Matty Mack. I don't know. I made that up. Matt McLean. He's an addition from last year, like I said, because he missed all of last year with a shoulder injury. In 2023 as a rookie, how about hitting 290 with 16 bombs and 14 steals? He's a good defender, maybe their best all-around defender in 2023. He makes a great tandem with De La Cruz there. I mean, De La Cruz has some work to do defensively sometimes, but McLean should fill in at the second base role, top of the lineup guy. If he can continue what he did rookie year, he's going to be a huge addition to this lineup. And I know I keep saying addition, even though he's been on the team, but he was not there last year. So that's kind of my player to watch there. But going right into the lineup, TJ Friedel, Ellie De La Cruz. Obviously, if you're looking to bet someone as a possible long shot MVP, he finished 8th last season. He has potential for a 30 home run, 50 stolen base season that he just flat out does. He needs to cut down on his strikeouts. 218 is too freaking many. That is a ton of strikeouts to go along with 20 errors. It's not pretty there. But, do people care about errors when you're betting MVP? I don't even know. But he really struggled against lefties also. Hit 224 off lefties compared to 275 off righties. A 32 WRC plus versus lefties. Again, 100 is average. That's weighted runs created plus versus righties, 134. I mean, it wasn't even close. So he cannot be this guy who struggles mightily against lefties and who's striking out over 200 times. If he can make some improvements, and again, Ellie De La Cruz is young. I don't have his age right here. I think he's early 20s still, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 22 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. So you got Ellie De La Cruz, and then Matt McLean jumping in here. Tyler Stevenson, I think, is an underrated hitting catcher when he's healthy. Spencer Steer last year, how about 92 ribbies? No one even knows that, probably. 20 home runs, 92 ribbies. And then the Candyman, Jaime Candelario, kind of a down year last year for him, but still a 25 home run guy. Gavin Lux, like we said, he's trying to revive his career. Not many better ballparks to revive it than Cincinnati, the great American small park they have there. And then Jake Fraley, Austin Hayes, like I said, All-Star 2 years ago. This guy had some injuries last year. And then they got other guys, Noel Marte they got from the Mariners, and also Edwin Arroyo they got from the Mariners, both in that Castillo trade. Luis Castillo. Marte struggled last year in the majors, when he stepped up the majors. Arroyo missed last year with an injury. So they got some other young guys as well. I still think they're obviously, a year or two away, adding some real big veteran pieces. But I like what I see. Either way, I think this is going to be a really freaking exciting team to watch. And I'm excited about it. So we'll see. But overall, thoughts on this lineup and where it ranks kind of in this division?
Yeah, no, I think lineup wise, I think this is going to be, my opinion, the number two team in the division. I think it's going to be Cubs and Reds will be 1 and 2. It's an exciting lineup. Like I said, a lot of speed there. You're going to see a lot of stolen bags. They also, a lot of them hit home runs. It's a small ballpark, like you said. So you're going to see a lot of home runs, a lot of stolen bases. They're going to be pretty good, and they have a decent starting pitching rotation, a decent bullpen. They're kind of, average in everything, but they don't lack in anything. Mm-hmm. So they have depth. They're going to be good.
I agree. No, I completely agree. So rotation, Hunter Green, can he continue to improve? Continued to cut down his walks last year, which is helpful. Slow start in the spring so far, but he's the guy. A lot of people are, saying if he can stay healthy. I don't know if he can stay healthy, honestly, the way he throws. But and then Andrew Abbott, just an okay strikeout guy, really struggled in the second half last year, almost a 5 ERA, 200 average against, 18 and 16 with a 3.78 ERA in 2 seasons so far. And then you got Brady Singer, like he said, came over here on the offseason, had a pretty decent year last year, 3.71 ERA, 22% K rate, 7% walk rate. Really good, solid middle of the rotation guy, someone they needed. And then Nick Lodolo, the lefty, guys. Can this guy stay healthy? He only pitched 253 innings in the last 3 seasons combined. He has an absolute wipeout curveball. If you've ever seen Nick Lodolo throw, he's got that lefty, nasty curveball. Swing and miss stuff is there. 27% K rate in his career. Another guy that flashes potential, like a lot of these Reds players. Can they continue to get over the hump? But one guy I want to talk about, Rhett Lauder, might make the team. 7th overall pick in 2023, 1.17 ERA in 30.2 innings last year for for Cincinnati. Yes, small sample size, but he was awesome. He did it with a low ground ball rate and a low K rate, though, which is a little, obviously you want to see a guy have some low or a high ground ball rate, high K rate and all that, but he did induce only a 31% hard contact, so he just is a guy who pitches to weak contact. It's similar to Shota Imanaga as well, like we talked about. It's kind of hard to barrel him up, but we'll see if he can make the next step. And we can still see a solid Brady Singer, and we get what we get out of Andrew or a Hunter Green, and we get some health. Again, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But this rotation has a chance to be better than what we've seen in the years past. What's kind of your overall take on this rotation?
Yeah, it's been better in the past, but it's not bad. Like you said, it's just a lot of what ifs. And can they? Like I said, Nick Lodolo. Yeah, when I played MLB The Show, he's one of the nastiest cards to face. So yeah, he's got wicked stuff. Nick Martinez, decent, but you don't really want him there. Don't really want him in there. Andrew Abbott needs to turn it around. Just a lot of what ifs, but they could definitely, if they figure it out, they'd be all right.
Yep. No, I agree. Any thoughts on this rotation as we finish up the Reds? I have a future bet, by the way, on the Reds here in a second.
It's a decent rotation. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst.
Sorry, I meant bullpen. Did I say rotation? I meant bullpen.
Yeah, bullpen, same thing. It got better, but it's nothing to really like be excited about besides literally like Rogers and maybe Barlow. Those would be like the only two to be like, okay.
I'm gonna be honest though; those are two good pieces to add.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not just some like, oh, they're decent. Those are some good players to add.
And they still have Edwin Diaz's brother, Alexis Diaz. He's projected to be their closer right now, so yeah, they seem all right.
He was a little up and down, but yeah, no, I agree. He's got some talent. 18th best ERA last season as a bullpen, 18th in xFIP, 9th highest K rate as a bullpen though. They had some swing and miss stuff. Pitching in that ballpark does not help as a bullpen. But you got Barlow and Mole will help give them depth. Diaz needs to perform a little bit better. I think he struggled the last couple of seasons. Still has that he's got some swing and miss stuff. But Rogers, a nice setup guy that they added. So they're going to be improved. We have not seen a Reds bullpen be good in a while, it feels like, at least to me, or be good on the rotation. Obviously, they pitch in Cincinnati. It is harder to pitch there as opposed to going to the number one pitcher park in Seattle and trying to pitch there. But overall, the bullpen should be improved. Rotation, I think, a little improved as well. So just some slight improvements across the roster, I think, is kind of where we're getting at. My future number 2 in this division is the Reds over 78.5 regular season wins because of all the reasons I just said. I just think they take a step forward this year. I'm not asking to get a ton of wins. I mean, they can finish under 500 and we still cash this bet. We just need 79 or more wins and just need to stay healthy. They've had some health issues, whether it's Matt McLean or Hunter Green or Nick Lodolo, all these guys. They just need to have a lucky year, and we want to see what these young guys can really do. They have a chance to be a wild card team, in my opinion. I think they're like plus 300 to make the playoffs. They have a shot, but again, it's not going to be easy because the NL East is going to have what? That's 2 wild card teams already locked up, and now we're going to have a third one. It's going to be from maybe the Reds, maybe the Brewers, or maybe the Padres or someone from the NL West, which we'll talk about another time. But I just like the improvement, getting McLean back and all that, and you got Ellie De La Cruz. So I like them to win probably 80 plus games here. Any thoughts on that future? Agree, disagree?
Yeah, no, I agree with it. I had them at about like 85 wins, slightly above 500.
Yeah, there we go. That's all we need. 500
competing for wild card. So yeah,
give me a 500 season with Gash. Now I'm jacked about this one. It's the Pirates.
Oh baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Over under win total 77.5. Won 76 games last year. I call this the Seattle Mariners light. This is what they are. Because listen, they're not, and I say light because they're not as good as the Mariners yet. Maybe in a year or two, that's where they're heading. But they're built around young, elite starting pitching and a bunch of guys that can't hit a baseball in the major league level. I mean, they just flat out are. Let's talk about their offseason, which is just crazy because I feel like I'm doing this to every team except for the Cubs and the Reds. I'm going to just start out by saying I give them a big fat F. And here, let's talk about it. So they added Spencer Horwitz in a trade. Okay, good piece, a decent piece for the lineup. He's dealing with an injury. Adam Frazier does absolutely nothing to move the needle. Relief pitcher Sam Meza, and then Tommy Pham, who's an older, just depth guy. Whatever, he can hit a little bit, but and then they lost some pitching pieces in that Horwitz trade. Lost to Aroldis Chapman. But similar to the Mariners, this is a big fat F. They blew an opportunity this offseason. They may have one of the best rotations in the MLB in the next few years. They got some young guys coming up. I'm going to talk about one of them here in a second. Skeens will be done in Pittsburgh in 6 seasons. He just will. He ain't coming back to Pittsburgh. They're not going to pay him. And so you have a few cheap years of Skeens and all these guys, and you don't pay money on anybody. Like, this is your time to spend and go win. This is it. This is your chance. You got Paul Skeens. You got some young guys coming up in the pitching rotation. You're going to have one of the best rotations in the majors. So go use the money and add to it and try to win now. And they did absolutely nothing. That's my Pirates rant. You're up.
Like, he's gonna be gone in 6 years. Like it's like not long.
Would they ever pay
6 years.
anybody 200 or 500 million?
No, they're
Never.
not. They're like 6 years, he's gone. After his rookie contract, bye-bye. He said
See ya.
arbitration, screw that. And I'm going to the goddamn Yankees or Dodgers.
It's over.
Yeah, he's like, it's over. I'm going to the Yankees or Dodgers. See you guys later. I'm going where the money is. No, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I said, their big splash signing was, I mean, probably Tommy Pham is the only one that's really worth really mentioning, if we're being honest. He's still decent, average hitter, plays defense, veteran presence. That's fine. Andrew Heaney is just God. He's absolutely terrible. I can't stand watching that guy pitch anymore. Caleb Ferguson's all right. It's an all right bullpen arm, but that's pretty much it. He's all right. Spencer Horwitz, as you brought up, it's a nice first baseman piece, but you could get better. And Adam Frazier, of course, is just Adam Frazier. He was good 4 or 5 years ago with the Mariners, and that was probably about it.
He wasn't that good. Let's not overdo it.
Yeah. I mean, he was an above average hitter. He's batting over 300, which is fine. But yeah, other than that, yeah, they didn't really do much, as you said. A lot of young, developing talent they're trying to develop. They're still probably another 3 to 4 years away if they start making moves.
But what you said is and we'll talk about it, but their lineup, like they have some pitchers coming up, but they don't have like some savior hitters coming up through the farm system. They're expecting to take this offense to another level, and that's where the worry is. But we'll talk about the lineup in a second. Player to watch. This is one of those guys I talked about, Bubba Chandler, and just a great name. Like if your name is Bubba, you are awesome already. He's just another elite pitching prospect. 3rd round pick in 2021, top 10 prospect in baseball right now. Last year in AA, 3.70 ERA, a little high, but a 101 WHIP, a huge K rate. And then in AAA, how about 1.83 ERA, 104 WHIP, K'd over 1/3 of the batters faced. I mean, this guy just is swing and miss crazy. Batters swung and missed 33% of the time off Bubba. Only allowed 85% exit velocity, throws in the upper 90s, good slider change. This guy is a stud. You guys in Pittsburgh already know you're waiting for this guy as well. Not saying he's going to be Paul Skeens, but it's one of those guys that can pair with Paul Skeens, that can go with Jared Jones, which I think can be good. He hit a rookie wall last year a little bit, but he's one of the, and I think they have a couple more. So this is just one guy to watch. Did you have, I don't know, any thoughts on this or any other players to watch for Pittsburgh?
I circled the same exact guy, Bubba Chandler. He's going to be good. Hopefully he's all he can say is I don't expect too much, I guess, the first year. If he comes out blowing doors down, awesome. But teams got to realize they got to let these pitchers develop sometimes. As a Tigers fan, it's hard. But yeah, it just let him develop. He's going to be good. Like you said, they got some other young pitching studs there. Jerry Jones, Mitch Keller's not young, but he's still dealing. I just watched him pitch today, dealt. So he's still good. But yeah, that's Paul Skeens is pretty much it, and hopefully those young guys pick it up with him.
Yeah, and we'll get into the roster now. This lineup, guys, it's just like I said, it's a Mariners light. They aren't very good. Tommy Pham, Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz showed some flashes. I mean, this guy hits the ball as hard as anybody in the majors, but then he could just look terrible. Struggles sometimes versus lefties. He just swing and miss stuff a lot, unfortunately. Andrew McCutchen, he is, great leader, captain for this team, but he's Andrew McCutchen. He's, 58 years old by this point. Key Brian Hayes, a guy they're still waiting to step up. He played better last year, but there's just nothing big here. Kiner, Falefa, Horowitz, hopefully they can do something with him. Joey Bart, it's just not very good. Brian Reynolds, obviously one of the best hitters on this team. It's a weak lineup. They need O'Neal Cruz to step up. He had a 2020 season last year, but also had a 30% K rate. It's just not going to get the job done at the top of the order. So I'll let you talk about this lineup, but I would rather watch paint dry than talking about it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, so I have MLB TV, and the only spring training game you could watch was the Pirates, ironically. And I'm like, oh, would you look at this? I watched O'Neal Cruz and Joey Bart go back-to-back on bombs.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it's pretty much what you said. McCutchen still had a decent year, even being old. He batted .232 with 20 bombs. Like that's for your DH and your ninth hitter, fine.
But I thought he was hitting top of the order a lot, wasn't he, last year?
Yeah, last year, yeah, but I'm saying this year.
Oh, yeah.
If we're talking about this year, I don't think he's going to be at the very top unless they
I
they
mean,
might.
there's not a lot of options unless you go
I know
Tommy.
there's not a lot. I mean, you're in trouble if Isaiah kind of Falefa is your shortstop.
I think you're in
It's
trouble
just
if he's in your lineup.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That you're in trouble if that's your shortstop, which is something I want to touch on. Now, Oneil Cruz is going to be moving to center field with that being done instead of playing
Yeah.
shortstop. So let's see how that plays out. Maybe maybe that helps his hitting instead of playing shortstop, the hardest position in the game, and going to center field and just running down fly balls. Maybe that helps him. Who knows? Gets a different perspective, seeing every pitch now in center field. Ryan Reynolds is still their all-star. That's, in my opinion, the all-around best player. He just
It's Brian. You said Brian Reynolds, right? Not Ryan Reynolds, because
Brian Reynolds.
You can't say Ryan Reynolds right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Brian Reynolds. Yeah,
Okay.
275, 24 bombs, 88 ribbies. Yeah, he's
solid. Yeah.
Yeah, he's all around their best player. Key Brian Hayes, young start. He needs to pick it up. He didn't play as much last year, but he if these guys pick it up, they'd be fine. I like Joey Bart. I think he's a little underrated, but he hasn't really proved much besides defense. Hopefully, he turns around offensively.
Yeah, I mean, if they picked it up, they'd be fine. Yeah, but if I was 5 inches taller, I'd also be 6'6". I mean, it's just not happening. It's just not going to work. Rotation.
You're not even 6'1".
Oh, I am too. Stop. I'm not shrinking yet. You don't shrink until you're 40. I'm only 39. The rotation. Paul Skeens. I mean, what do we need to say about him? If you want to bet extra money on him, try for MVP. That's how good he freaking is. But Mitch Keller, I think people forget Mitch Keller was pretty good last year. I mean, when I say pretty good, I mean, we expect him to not be. I feel like he gets kind of a bad rap, but Mitch Keller's a decent pitcher. He doesn't need to. He's not a guy who should be the number one, which he was the number one of this rotation. I think actually he started on opening day before Skeens came in, but now they add Jared Jones, and this is kind of one of those wild cards. Like I said earlier, he hit a rookie wall last year. He had a 5.87 ERA in the second half and only 30.2 innings. Really struggled on the road. This has to change. This is insane. A 5.81 ERA on the road, a 2.87 ERA at home. Something to think about when you're betting games as well. That maybe he can turn it around, but he's got some nasty stuff. When he first came to the majors last year, he was missing bats left and right. I remember his case props kept going from 6.5, 7.5. I mean, they were getting crazy. So he's a guy that we're gonna have to watch. But like Brad has talked about, Andrew Heaney sucks. Bailey Falter, decent pitcher. We'll see what we get from him. But overall, and again, they have some young prospects like Bubba Chandler, like we just talked about, that are going to make their appearance. And if he can come in and have that somewhat Paul Skeens effect on this rotation, I mean, it's pretty dang good. And they got some other guys too. So overall, thoughts on this one?
No, pretty much exactly what you said. They got Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, still young, developing potential. Mitch Keller is still probably going to be pretty good, probably above average, I would say. Heaney is, you just never know with that guy. The only thing you do know is he gets lit up like a Christmas tree. But that's pretty much about it. And then hopefully Bubba Chandler works out. If they all of them stay healthy, they'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think
they don't have much depth after that.
I don't blame them for not getting another rotational piece. What I blame them for an F on this offseason is because they should have got hitters. But I get why they're not. Why would you want to go spend a lot of money on another starting pitcher that just blocks Bubba Chandler or these other guys from coming up? They feel good about in a year or two who these guys are coming up, and that's why they kind of just have a 4 or 5 pitcher right now of Andrew Heaney and Bailey Falter. But it was the hitters that they really needed to improve. But
I mean, if they wanted that, they should have went after Willie Adames if they're going to move Oneil Cruz to center anyways. Yeah, man, just imagine putting him in this lineup. We'd think about them a little different, offensively wise. If they added him to just offensive wise,
a little different. Yes, like they actually cared to do something. And then, so if you have a great rotation, you think, and the Mariners have done good at this. I keep talking about my Mariners. I love it. Is that if you're going to have good pitching, you might as well have a pretty good bullpen. And we got bullpen arms. So at least you're built around pitching. Guess what? Their bullpen sucks too. I mean, they have great rotation and bad everything else. 4th worst ERA in baseball last year. 5th worst xFIP. 7th highest walk rate. They have a new bullpen coach. Cool. Closer, David Bednar, struggled last year. Can he be the guy? They really need him to step up. I expect this bullpen to be in the bottom 10. That's bottom line. I don't see any additions. I don't see any pieces. Bullpens can be very finicky. You never know. Maybe some guys have career years and they pitch better. They're 1-inning guys every couple days, so you never know. But do you have anything to say, or am I missing anybody? Because I don't think this bullpen's any good.
Yeah, no, same thing. Yeah, the bullpen's not very good. I mean, if your closer, his ERA is 5.77, that's not a good closer. Obviously, you're blowing saves. Yeah, you're blowing the game. It's just ridiculous. Caleb Ferguson was like the only bullpen arm worth mentioning, but he's not even that good himself. Dana Santana, Colin Holderman, Kyle Nicholas. They don't really have much depth there per se. Hopefully, Paul Skeens pitches complete games all year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, really, yeah, that's the Pirates. At least the Pirates, I can see where they're going here, as opposed to like the Cardinals or something. But maybe some slight improvement here. Hard to win games though if you can't hit. It's just bottom line. That's why I'm the fan of the only team to never make a World Series. Bullpen struggles is going to be pretty bad. I mean, you're going to see Skeens and some of these guys throw some gems, and then the bullpen absolutely blows it. They're going to leave the game up 1-0, and they're going to lose 4-2. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be pretty. We'll see. Maybe they surprise us. Maybe some hitters can have better years as well. But just a team that I think is going to compete with the Cardinals for the 4th and 5th spot in this division. What about you?
Yeah, no, same thing. I don't think they'll compete. I think even though the Cardinals didn't do much, they're still probably going to be better than the Pirates. They just usually are. For some weird reason, Pirates do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so overall NL Central recap. Me and Brad both think the Cubs win it. We think the Brewers take a step back. Reds potentially, I have a future bet there. Compete for a wild card, maybe taking that next step. These young guys can continue to improve. And then I expect the Cards and Pirates to struggle. Very disappointing off seasons for both of them. Such a wide open division, and no one really took advantage other than the Cubs. Trying to add Kyle Tucker and some bullpen pieces and things. Other than that, nobody really tried that much to take the next step. But yeah, two futures I have. Red Seasons wins over 78.5, and then the Cubs to win the division. So that's what we got there. But yeah, Brad, anything to kind of add on this division, or I mean, if you had to pick a surprise team, it sounds like you might be leaning with the Reds here.
Yeah, I think the Reds are just right behind the Cubs. As far as roster as of right now, like they're built around kind of the same thing. They're not really weak in anything, but they're not really great in anything. So it's going to be interesting. I think that division might come down to the last couple weeks of the season, especially if they play each other at the end. I haven't looked at the schedule, but if they do, it could be a good series to watch at the end of the year.
Could be some big ones, yeah. I just started a poll if I did it right. Let me know who you guys think wins the division. Just curious to see on that poll down there. See who you guys think, if you guys are up with us and the Cubs, if you guys think the Reds are going to win, or if you're just picking your own team, I guess, which that could happen as well. But
well, you can't pick your own team for the Pirates here.
Yeah, no, you're not allowed. If you pick the Pirates, you're banned. It's just not pretty. But yeah, no, it's an interesting division. Pirates should have gotten Fielder Jr. and build around him and Skeens.
Fielder Jr.
Interesting. Yeah, so we'll see. It's gonna be a fun division. You're gonna hear about it in the AL Central division as well. AL Central's for some reason both Central divisions are the teams or other divisions that are just wide open. So we'll see. But as of right now, we don't have obviously a ton of people in right now at the end of the video. But yeah, we have a Cubs vote. So that's where it's at. But yeah, man, it's fun to talk baseball. We're gonna do NL West next time. They have a decent team in that division that we'll talk about, and then that's just gonna be stupid. Yeah. And then the other 4 teams. But yeah, thanks. You got anything to add on the NL Central, Brad? Appreciate you joining too.
No, definitely. Always a pleasure. But yeah, no, it's gonna be a weird division. Who knows? Like I said, we're choosing the Cubs, but you never know.
Yeah, no, like we said, Brewers plus 700 last year won it, so we'll see. But thank you guys for joining. Also, thanks for joining everyone in the chat and everything. I appreciate it. Go check out the video, hopefully, and check out the other NL East video as well. We're gonna be doing this all year long. So, thanks again. That's all we got. Hope you guys have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.